Breaking news, the Kremlin said that U.S. President Donald Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff will visit Moscow next week for talks on a possible Ukraine peace plan. According to Putin's foreign policy aide Yuri Ushakov, other key U.S. officials involved in Ukrainian affairs are also expected to attend. Trump has told reporters that U.S. negotiators are making progress with Russia and Ukraine and that Moscow has agreed to some concessions. Ushakov has also criticized the leak of a phone call between senior U.S. and Kremlin officials, saying it was likely intended to hinder the peace talks, not improve relations. Let's in fact listen in to Ushakov's statements.
Чтобы, наверное, помешать. Вряд ли это делать для того, чтобы улучшить отношения. Они сейчас выстраиваются тяжело, выстраиваются путем вот такого рода контактов, в том числе и по телефону. Но что касается Уиткофа, то я могу сказать, что достигнута предварительная договоренность о том, что он приедет в Москву на следующей неделе. Он и еще ряд представителей администрации, которые имеют отношение к украинским делам.
Now we stay on the breaking news. The Kremlin said that U.S. President Donald Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, will visit Moscow next week for talks on a possible Ukraine peace plan. According to Putin's foreign policy aide, Yuri Ushakov, other key U.S. officials involved in Ukrainian affairs are also expected to attend. Trump has told reporters that U.S. negotiators are making progress with Russia and Ukraine and that Moscow has agreed to some concessions. Ushakov has also criticized the leak of a phone call between senior U.S. and Kremlin officials, saying it was likely intended to hinder the peace talks, not improve relations. Okay, now for this discussion, we welcome retired Major General Sudhakarji. He's an international relations and defense expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Sudhakarji, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, Major General, what are we to make of this news if Russia has indeed agreed and if also Ukraine has certain concessions to make? What do you think might they realistically be?
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Asomab, thank you for getting me for your show.
Thank you.
Very quick reflections before I come to the core issue.
Yes.
Before the present 28-point peace plan proposed by Trump and his team could crystallize, there has been an ongoing process of track 2. Quietly, backdoor diplomacy has been going on. There also have been very serious attempts of talks in Istanbul and at Ankara, a number of places after the Alaska visit. The proposal from Russia has been exchanged with Ukraine, and likewise all multiple stakeholders have been consulted to the best of my understanding. I am saying this after having joined the dots and carried out some analysis at my level. And the main highlights of the talk, like I was sharing with PI yesterday,
yes,
is that Crimea, Donetsk and Luhansk will be deemed as part of Russia, one. Second, Kherson and Zaporizhia, these two, wherever they are, where is basis, the line will freeze at the point of contact, and whichever portion is under Russia, that will go to Russia. And with regard to Donetsk, there is roughly around 10% of area which is under Ukraine. That also will be deemed as part of Russia. Because that is, I am given to understand, it's very pivotal and it's a vantage piece of ground. So, and the scale of the defense forces of Ukraine will come down to from 900,000 to 600,000. The core issues is that the environmental reality obtaining in the battlefield or the conflict zone has to be taken into reality, one. Number two, there is a requirement, firstly, to ensure that there is a assured security guarantee given to Ukraine. Number three, there is a contestation. There are a lot of speculation with regard to Ukraine bidding for NATO membership. Now, as per my understanding and in-depth research, this is a no-go case. Russia will not accept, because one of the bottom lines of this peace proposal going ahead is that the neutrality of Ukraine has to be ensured. And last but not the least is that there has to be some kind of a commitment given by Russia that it will not carry out any kind of invasion, or the sphere of this boundary will not extend further to the west. So under these broad parameters, the most important understanding which is to be established between all stakeholders is that there has to be a security architecture between the Eastern Europe and the Central Europe. That means countries like you have Romania, you have Poland, and further you go to Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia, going up to the Finland, the complete extent. To the best of my understanding, there has to be some kind of a security apparatus evolved or developed and mutually accepted, so that the sphere of influence of NATO does not extend anywhere beyond this particular line. Number two, within Ukraine itself, there is a requirement of a kind of a stabilizing force, neutral force, which is to ensure that the line so drawn between the Ukrainian force and the Russian force has to be respected, and call it by any name, line of control or whatever, and the commitments made in the peace talk has to actually be complied with by all the relevant stakeholders. So under these circumstances, the key issues which actually get thrown up is that ceding land by Ukraine to Russia. Now this is a very, very terrible issue which has to be ratified by the parliament of Ukraine, because this 20% of land which Russia is kept it under its occupation, that Zelensky cannot have any say. In any case, he has no legal and technical status as on today. He's just a kind of a nominated head who is representing his country. Whole thing has to be decided. Ceding of land. Now, when you talk about ceding of land in 21st century Asoma, it throws up multiple issues. One of the issues is this acceptable in 21st century when we are talking about rules-based international order, sovereignty of territorial integrity? Is that acceptable? Well, everything is not hunky-dory, or it's not, drawn on the, etched on the stone. For the sake of larger good and peace, I think whatever Donald Trump 28-point plan has been formulated, a little bit of give and tweak here and there, I think this is the best option available. They should push ahead. They must talk it out like the way they have spoken. They had a meeting yesterday at Abu Dhabi just to carry out some modification to the draft in the larger interest, and giving a meeting, trying to meet the aspiration of the Ukraine. So similar kind of thing, negotiation has to go on, and only then some meaningful things can be achieved. So why am I giving this complete narrative is, this narrative is against the understanding maintained so far between the European Union or the NATO forces or the Western alliances and a couple of other relevant stakeholders. Why are they interested? Why they don't want a peace to come in between? They don't want this because they have ulterior motive. There is a deep state which is working in USA. That deep state is deeply entrenched into major countries in the Europe. They do not want this conflict to end. They want it to continue under the camouflage or under the garb of Russia is going to invade them anytime soon, which in my opinion as a student of geopolitics, it is unfounded. Russia does not want to expand its sphere of conflict. It just wants to keep its corridor, this land bridge corridor up to Crimea, a kind of an open, safe and secure corridor. And it wants that 30% population who are Russian speaking in Ukraine, they should be given some kind of identity in the constitution. The language should be taken as one of the important languages included in the constitution. Likewise, there are many things which are not figuring in the 28-point peace plan, yes. And there are many things which will come up. So by a process of dialogue and diplomacy, they must come to the table, talk it out. This phase of denial and resistance will continue, and I am very, very optimistic and hopeful that Donald Trump and his team, that proposal which they have actually rolled out with persistence and consistency and resolve, they will be able to take it ahead towards a conclusive kind of an end state. Back to you, Suma.
Right. Thank you very much, Major General, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you. Now we stay in the topic. Russian Foreign Minister